Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this one, if you could just hit that subscribe button down below, that would really help me out. But today's video is about Glen Kamara, and we have a very special scouting report video today because we have the first guest ever on the channel, and it is Kieran from the This Is Ibrox podcast. This is a brilliant interview, really good insight from him, really what I needed to know, because from what you get on FBref, WhoScored.com and those other stats websites, you don't get that much information from the SPFL in terms of data and analytics and all that sort of thing. So Kieran offers what's a really, really good insight on Glen Kamara and how he's performed at Rangers over the last 6 years. So enjoy the interview and make sure you hit that like button down below. So we're going to talk with an actual Rangers fan now about Glen Kamara. This is Kieran from the This Is Ibrox podcast. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Max. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, if anybody's wanting any Scottish football content and they want to listen to one of the best Rangers podcasts out there, go and check out This Is Ibrox on YouTube and Twitter and stuff as well. But today we're going to talk a little bit about Glen Kamara. Now, Glen Kamara signed for Rangers in 2018, wasn't it?
Yep.
And obviously has been at the club for the last 6 years, doing the best according to some Rangers fans in the Europa League. But what are your sort of initial thoughts about Glen Kamara's time at Rangers? Is it overall positive or a negative experience for you, really?
No, positive completely. Well, I'd say positive. There's a bit of an emotional attachment there. It was a huge part in us winning the 55th title, and we only picked him up for £50,000. So
Yeah,
as you can imagine, picking up an Arsenal youngster that seemed to do very well at Dundee, quite a strange move in the first place, and then we managed to get him for £50,000 was exceptional.
yeah,
And yeah, when he's on his game, he's an excellent player. All saying that, last season it just seemed like he had down tools almost.
right. Yeah, I had heard a few Rangers fans had replied to me on Twitter saying that he'd down tools. So yeah, I did want to dig into that a little bit and find out why, really.
I think there was a multiple of reasons. He was very close to Calvin Bassey and Joe Aribo. Obviously, Aribo got his move to Southampton. It hasn't really worked out for him, and Calvin Bassey got his big move to Ajax. Since then, I don't know if Kamara's been promised a move in the background and it's not come off. He'd signed
Yeah,
a he'd signed an extension to his contract where the others hadn't, and stuck around. But under Van Bronckhorst, he played him in like the number 6, where he was a sitting midfielder, and he's not a sitting midfielder at all.
right.
And then we thought we might have got a rejuvenated Glen Kamara under Michael Beale, and we didn't. And then it just seems like we're trying to cut our losses.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've seen that quite a few of his games have been played at that holding midfield role, and like you say, if he didn't really fit there, is he more of a box to box midfielder than a number 8?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why I think he'll be a really good fit for Leeds, if that's where he does end up. Daniel Farke, like you've got now, really enjoys that possession-based football and then try to break the lines, and he's not very direct. So Kamara is that guy. He's great on the turn. He's very comfortable on the ball. Like, he's good to watch. He's a skillful player and he's a good passer of the ball. The difference is with the SPFL and the Europa League, like you touched on, you spoke about in the comments. With Rangers in the SPFL, teams will sit in. It'll be like we're up against two banks of five. It's
Yeah,
basically a low block every time we play. So for him, he's not a guy that will take on a shot from the edge of the box. He's very plays it safe, tries to get forward. His feet are exceptional. He's so skillful. But whereas, see, in the Europa League, teams came out and played against us, and that's when you've seen the best in him. Where
yeah,
teams came out and they wanted to have a go, and it opened up a lot of space for him to get on the turn and link midfield to attack almost.
yeah. Well, yeah, the way that Daniel Farke plays, and I did a video on this and his tactics as well, is that he likes to have a double pivot in there, and we've got at the moment Tyler Adams, who could be on his way out, but I'd like to keep in. And we just signed Ethan Ampadu, who's more of a sort of destroyer in midfield. So you'd expect that somebody like Kamara would slot in next to Ampadu or Tyler Adams because he is a little bit more of a box to box, like you say, and likes to get on the ball a little bit more. Whereas you players like Tyler Adams and Ethan Ampadu, they like to win the ball back. And like you say, Kamara, if he's really good with his feet and he's much more sort of primed to play that position a little bit further forward. I did see, like you say, that a lot of people were saying that he played his best football in the Europa League, and they were saying that it was because the Europa League was at a slower pace and that he couldn't really deal with the fast pace of the SPFL. But what you're saying is more like, because obviously Rangers are up there being in the top two best teams in Scotland every time, they're having to try and break down low blocks, and that might be what Leeds are coming up against in the Championship. If we've obviously got one of the biggest budgets, probably the biggest club in the Championship, we're going to be coming up against teams who are just going to sit back and sit in. And did you say that that's sort of not great for Kamara, or it just doesn't bring the best out of him?
It probably doesn't bring the best out of him. Like, a criticism he probably came under it, Ibrox, was that he didn't get into the box and score enough, if you know what I mean. He's a very good finisher, but he doesn't shoot. He doesn't sort of take many chances,
Right.
whereas he more likes to link play and get involved, and he's exceptional on the turn. But I think why it's a good move to go to Leeds. Leeds are a huge club, as are Rangers. There's a lot of expectations playing in front of big crowds. There's a lot of similarities there that he'll be no stranger to.
Yeah.
I think it's a good move for him. And you've got to remember as well, not just Rangers, he's a regular for Finland.
Finland.
He's a
Yeah.
regular for Finland as well. So it all goes well for you guys. If the fee's rumoured to be between 45 million, it's a good bit of business for Leeds. For Rangers, we're in need of the funds just now because we're trying to bring in Jose Cifuentes from LAFC. So for
Right.
both parties, I think it's a really good move.
Yeah, it's almost a win-win situation then, isn't it, really? A lot of people are saying that, um, why would we buy him as well, given the way that Farke plays? He can't play in the number 10 because I think somebody tried that, didn't they? One of the Rangers managers tried him in the number 10. He really wasn't very good there.
Yeah, it
Um,
didn't really work. What I would say, if any Leeds fans want to see kind of what he's about going forward, like either his goal against Benfica stands out away to Benfica, or his goal in the semi-final against RB Leipzig 2 seasons ago was unbelievable. Like,
right.
you want to talking finesse, he's stepped up and he stroked it into the corner. It's an unbelievable finish.
Yeah, a very technical player then from what you're saying. He's not necessarily somebody who will run around and break up play and make big tackles and stuff, but he's technically very tidy, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's very good in possession, very good on the ball. But I think a lot of Rangers fans just felt disgruntled about him last year. We lost a lot of big games where he had played, but not necessarily just his fault. But a lot of fans really felt like he had down tools.
Right,
Michael Beale has came out today and said that he was missing from the Newcastle game. Oh, sorry, he actually said in the presser last night he was missing from the Newcastle game because of illness. He didn't make the pre-season trip to Germany because of illness, and he
right.
expects him to join up with the squad sometime next week. But it's the type of thing we've all heard before. It's maybe just a smokescreen for his move to Leeds.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, some players like to either whether that's something they've agreed with the club to do that, or but usually if you see somebody miss out on something from pre-season, a game or a tour or going to any other country, it's usually that they've got a move lined up, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, 100%. And it's been on the cards for Kamara for a while. He missed, I think it was the last 2 games of last season. It was almost like the game he played at Ibrox was his swan song and his way of saying goodbye, because he hadn't kicked a ball since I think it was the final against Celtic. So
Right.
that was a good amount of time. But when he's on form, he's a very, very good player, technically outstanding. Yeah, like I said, Max, or well, like you said, sorry, he won't run around breaking up play, but he does win his fair share of tackles. He gets stuck in, and yeah, you'll enjoy him if you get him on form. And I think Daniel Farke is a good fit for him at
Yeah,
Leeds, to bring out the best in him, because he's still, I think I'm right in saying he's only 25, 26.
yeah. I think he's 26.
Yeah, he's still a decent age as well. So
Yeah,
he's
probably coming
very,
into his prime in the next year or so. Then, really, if we can sort of revitalize his career a little bit, and I think the championship is also quite a good one for somebody like him because it's a 46 game season, so there'll be a lot of rotation, and even if he is on the bench in certain games, he's not likely to be on the bench for prolonged periods, because there's just simply so many games in that league that he's going to have to be used and used quite a lot. And we definitely do need more depth in there, because we've just had Mark Roca, Spaniard. He's gone to Real Betis on loan. We've lost some of our other midfielders, and we are looking really light on the ground now. So it can't hurt to have an extra midfielder in there. And like you say, if he's technical and tidy, he would fit this Daniel Farke system very well, sitting as sort of like a less withdrawn defensive midfielder. He wouldn't actually be a defensive midfielder if he sat in there. He'd be a little bit further forward of that, but also, like you say, he's not afraid to put a foot in if he needs to. So he can be sort of utilized in that box to box role where he does a bit of both.
Yeah, I think we've seen him actually playing as a sitter as part of a two at times under Gerrard, and I still didn't feel like it was his best role. His best role's in
Right.
front of the sitter, but not behind the striker, like you touched on earlier, an eight almost. But nah, I can only see him doing good things. I think it's a really good move, and it benefits both parties. He's no drama. He's quite a quiet guy. There won't be any trouble surrounding him. I can't even remember a time he'd been sent off at Rangers.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not much drama surrounding him. Just a quiet, self-assuming guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, it sounds like a no-brainer, really, but for both parties. Like you say, if you're trying to get, is it Cifuentes, that deal over the line, and you need the money for it, we need to bring in another midfielder, and it's not a massive outlay for a club where we've just been taken over by the 49ers Enterprises, who have a lot of money between all the investors that are in that group. It seems like a no-brainer, really, and I know that the club are working on this one in the background. But yeah, it remains to be seen how long it takes to sort of go through. But yeah, it's been brilliant to get your insight actually on Glen Kamara, because, like I said to you before we recorded this, there isn't actually that much data on the SPFL. Only the people who like Opta Stats and the proper big companies have access to sort of that sort of thing. And me, Joe YouTuber on the street, doesn't really get a chance to look at that sort of thing. So it's really nice to get the sort of the opinion of a proper Rangers fan who's seen him play in the flesh, rather than just sort of guessing at it based on some vague statistics that I've seen. But yeah, like you say, he could be a really, really good asset for Leeds in the future. So yeah. Is there anything coming up on the This Is Ibrox channel that you want anybody to check out? Anything interesting coming up in terms of transfers and stuff as well?
At the moment, we've got our usual pods, which are Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and I'm sure there's one on a Friday as well. So make sure you subscribe to This Is Ibrox if you're a Leeds fan and get a wee soft spot for Rangers to keep up
Yeah, I
with
think
everything
there
Rangers.
is quite a few Scottish Leeds fans because of people like Eddie Gray and Gordon Strachan, and loads of Scottish people have come through the club in the time. So I think Leeds have got a bit of a history of having quite a few Scottish fans, and so I'm sure that they'll have a bit of a soft spot, some of them, for Rangers as well.
Gary McAllister, he's a
Gary
big Rangers
McAllister
fan.
as well,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was an assistant under Gerrard, so
yeah,
he was an absolute legend when he was here as well. But
yeah.
yeah, I think I've done all right, Max, to go this long without mentioning the game in 1992, mate.
Well, that was 5 years before I was born, so I won't be too upset about that one. To be fair.
I was only 8, but no, I always keep an eye on Leeds, and I think on behalf of This Is Ibrox and most of the Rangers fans, we want to see you back up in that Premiership, massive club like we are, and yeah, that's the right place for you. But Glen Kamara is a good place to start with rebuilding that midfield.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, thank you for all your contribution.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. It's appreciated.
Thanks to Kieran again for doing that. Excellent interview there, and I really, really appreciate the insight that he gave on Glen Kamara. I thought it was really interesting to me, and like I said, there isn't that much information out there, so to get a proper eye test from a proper Rangers fan is really good. Now, I know that we have got some Scottish subscribers on the channel because of the links to Scotland throughout our history of Gordon Strachan, Gary McAllister, Eddie Gray, Billy Bremner. The list goes on and on and on. And yeah, so if you are in Scotland, or you all have a soft spot for Rangers, anything, just go and check out the This Is Ibrox podcast. great guys down there, and obviously one of the best Rangers podcasts out there. But yeah, thanks so much for the help, and it was really, really good to get that insight on Glen Kamara, because he is the sort of player that I would be expecting to come in at Leeds before that conversation and maybe sit on the bench, but I think he could actually fit into a Daniel Farke system really, really well in that number 8 role, just beyond a sort of destroyer midfielder, a bit like Tyler Adams or Ethan Ampadu, like we mentioned in the interview. So yeah, really, really good. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately. Hit that like button down below and let me know if you want to see more interviews and more content like this on the channel, because it has been a little bit different. But yeah, thanks for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.